Okay, so my presentation is on global climate change effects on agriculture in South Asia. My name is Emerson O'Brien. So for the abstract, agriculture is a very important part of our environment where we can produce crops and raise livestock in many variations for our marketing systems. Agriculture is one of the many economic factors that has been impacted by climate change, as millions of dollars are invested in innovation and research to cope with future climate change stresses on produce. Community-based adaptation of innovation is also considered as a very important factor in crop improvements. These predictions are very crucial and need to be put into great consideration for future impacts of climate change on agriculture. Next slide is my introduction. So my hypothesis includes, as the global mean temperature rises, the impacts of climate change are causing a decrease in agriculture and their negative effects on transportation in South Asia, Siberia. Some research questions I have include, how are the negative impacts of agriculture affecting transportation in Siberia? And the goal is to find the harmful effects on agriculture. My next question is, how can we reduce the negative impacts of agriculture in the future? The goal of this is to find solutions for the negative impacts of agriculture. And third, how have the negative impacts of agriculture progressed over the last few decades? And the goal of this is to find changes in the impacts of agriculture through their patterns and what causes them. For my introduction, why is researching the impacts of agriculture and transportation so important? Well, it is very important for maintaining not only our resources, protecting our people, protecting land, properties, and our ecosystems around us. And I included some pictures of what agriculture looks like in Siberia. So my study area for this project was South Asia, Siberia. This is a country that is suffering from major effects of climate change. Its agriculture plays a huge role in the effects of East Asia because of their rice wheat crop. And the rice wheat crop is the main food bowl in Asia and feeds billions of people across the world. The sustainability of the food source, the rice wheat crop, is being threatened by many different factors. These factors include greenhouse emissions and stagnant crop yields. Another major concern for the production of rice wheat is the burning residue that is found in the crops, as governments in South Asia have imposed a strict ban on the burning of rice residues. The use of rice-specific harvesters might be a pragmatic option to manage rice residues with yield and premium advantage. I have found that there have been many major transportation changes in Siberia due to the climate change, and they are not good. So the methods I use include some key research, which was on experts in climate change policies, economic change policies, and agriculture, as listed below. I connected with Dr. Paul, Dr. Kishore, and Dr. Pramound. Some other key research I used was in my database keywords, which was agriculture, climate change, South Asia, Siberia, and Siberia Global Temperature Assessment databases. So my basic process included researching that was gathered by looking at early research and data gathered from different databases. The one that I grabbed from today was the Copernicus, and many more, as you will see throughout the slide. Next, research was also gathered up until current times to learn how climate change has negatively progressed and impacted agriculture. And to go even further, research was gathered up until current times to learn how this all impacted transportation in Siberia. So the first database I used was the IPCC WGI Interactive Atlas for regional information. As you can see, I have the Siberia highlighted in the blue, and you can see that our temperature is rising in the graph below, and our mean temperature with global warming, and it also has colors showing the predictions for each year and model, showing that it's not looking great. Our global warming is raising immensely, and this is impacting agriculture and transportation. The next data set I used was from Climate Smart Agriculture in South Asia, and this table was grasped from where I connected with the doctors. And this first table shows the comparison between changes in demand and climate effects on agriculture. As you can see, it shows different parts of the world like Africa, East Asia, West Asia, South Asia. And I want to include this because it shows how heavy South Asia is impacted compared to many of the other ones. And you can see how these have some major impacts in our demand as crops are becoming way more expensive due to our climate change. And it also is showing the climate change impacts on yield, where you can see that South Asia's are in one of the higher numbers of being very negative. The last data I used was from our climate smart agriculture in South Asia also, and this was the fifth table shown. You'll see the other three later in this presentation, but this one shows the status of emissions from agriculture and forest activities. If you look at the bottom, you can see our change in forest and the woody mass, and also our forest and grassland areas. And you can see in India, where we're looking in the South Asia region in Siberia, it is highly impacting our agriculture. So for my results, I showed the other three tables, which show the impact of climate change on crop yields in South Asia, showing that our rice has a production that is pretty low and its yield is very low also, and its production is not as great. You can see that it's still higher up than other things such as like maize. Even our wheat is a little lower, but it's still not where you want it to be. And it's showing that with no CC, with no more like climate change occurring, we can see improvement, but this is if we are making some changes. And the other table, it's showing the impact of global warming on our agricultural output, looking into 2080 in South Asia. And you can see that without our carbon fertilization, it will, and with carbon fertilization, the percentages are negative, which is not great which is not a great impact if we want to see some change and benefits too. And then the last table is the impact of climate change in different sectors and regions of India in 2030. So in here we are looking, and you can see that our livestock has negative impacts. Our water is seen to increase in some areas, but decrease in others, which isn't good if it's increasing too much or decreasing too much, because either way that will negatively impact our crops and in return transportation of food. So in the results for looking in the future, there are 6 key factors to becoming more climate smart when it comes to our agriculture. First, we can be more energy smart, which we can improve our energy use efficiency by controlling our CO2 emissions and reducing the cost of cultivation. Second, we can be water smart. So we can conserve our water to improve groundwater level and reduce the cost. We can be nitrogen smart, which will improve fertilizer use efficiency to increase soil carbon and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Next, we can be weather smart. So we can take prior information about the weather for a better crop protection and farming. We can be more knowledgeable, which will help farmers adapt to our new climate change, make them come up with different methods that would adapt to what is our heat rising and temperatures changing. And the last thing we can do is become more carbon smart and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions from agricultural operations and come up with a new system or method. So for my first discussion, why are we concerned? With my findings, we are concerned because the regions of Asia are known for having a certain percentage of rainfall, and their overall warming will create areas who receive more rain than normal or even less rain than normal, which will impact our growth of crop and produce. This will lead to major impacts on agriculture, the production of crops, and the transportation of these this produce from Siberia. According to these projections, rice, which is India's major food crop, would suffer yield losses of 4 to 20% under irrigated condition and 35 to 50% under rain-fed condition as early as 2030, which could even possibly happen sooner. These projections are much more alarming than earlier ones and tally with estimates of 30 to 40%, which is not good at all. My next discussion part is our current state. So due to these findings, South Asia has over 75% of the region who are dependent on rain-fed agriculture, livestock, and forestry for livelihood. So if that's over 75% of the region that are dependent on that, if we do not take control over our greenhouse gas emissions, CO2, or make adaptations, we will see a loss in a lot of produce, which will lead to transportation issues, causing major negative effects around the entire world. Also found that population growth of 2.3 billion is seen, which will cause fall of agriculture significantly. On the other hand, it says that they revealed the cost of adaptation to climate change will increase all of these produce, the rice by 0.9%, wheat by 1.6%, maize by 0.6% due to crop improvement and agronomic management. We will see an increase in prices. And also in arid areas or flood areas, we have high abiotic and biotic stress decreasing in crop yields. In conclusion, there are many things that we can do to become climate smart when it comes to agriculture. We can make smart choices when it comes to water usage, energy, nitrogen, carbon, weather, and the knowledge that we have. Global warming is negatively affecting many things in our world today, but its effect on agriculture seems to be one of the most potent issues that we are dealing with globally. We must adopt measures to evolve crops. The changing climate scenarios harshen the biotic stresses, including boosting up the population of insect, pest, and disease, uplifting weed growth, declining soil beneficial microbes, threatened pollinator, and boosting up abiotic stresses, including harsh drought, waterlogging, extremisms in temperature, salinity, abrupt rainfall patterns, and ultimately affect the plant in multiple ways and their production. And here is a list of my bibliography and all the sources that I have used throughout this presentation. Thank you for watching and listening.